Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. It is 2018 and traditionally, when we kick off a brand new year, many people resolve to change an undesired trait or behavior to accomplish a personal goal or otherwise improve their lives. My first guest is known as the Effective Communication Coach. She's a dynamic speaker and coach whose mission is to help individuals become recognized leaders by mastering the art of effective communication and networking. It is a pleasure to welcome Denise Thomas to Our Issues Milwaukee. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Andrea.
I feel like Whitley. Hi, Denise.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And actually, over the years, we've talked about all sorts of things when we ring in the new year. We've covered eating better, exercising, finances, and all those things. But I wanted to tackle a different subject this time around. So needless to say, we all deal with people every single day, whether it's at work, at home, or even in the public. And I thought it would be interesting to discuss how to better communicate with people in the new year. So that's why we have you here today. When did you first discover that you wanted to help others better communicate?
I would say I discovered probably since I was 3 years old.
Really?
I was the student in the classroom where I earned good grades, but I was excessive in my talking. And I was always someone who gravitated towards people. And I used my personality as well as my words and ability to communicate to connect with people and build relationships for, again, since I was 3 years old.
Yeah, you just know when you have it, you have it.
Yes.
Because on all of my report cards, it was funny. My mother and I were just looking at all of them. Don't ask me why she kept them. But every last one said, talks too much in class. And I was like, see, that was just something that was supposed to be.
Exactly, exactly. You know at a very early age what your gifts are.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I think it's important to recognize those. So with that said, you have been featured as a keynote speaker and moderator for a long list of corporations and organizations like Northwestern Mutual, Johnson Controls, GM, and you once worked for Miller Coors, and you've even spoke for them.
Yes, yes. I've been fortunate to have a great career, especially here in Milwaukee, just working with some very highly reputable organizations and corporations, and which all believe in the importance of communication as part of their business growth and innovation. So I have been very successful here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and you're a transplant.
Yes.
Just like me. So
We're neighbors. I'm from Evansville, Indiana.
Get out of here.
Yes, so we're neighbors.
And I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. And
Louisville was our
Evansville.
Chicago. It's like, we are bored. Where are we going? Louisville.
That is too funny. And you were just like me. You were in Milwaukee, left, and came back.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm following you, obviously, Andrea. Wherever you go, I'll be there next.
That is too funny. But really, that just goes to say Milwaukee really has this hold on you where you leave and then you miss it, the city, the people, and really it becomes like a second hometown. I think
Absolutely.
you agree with me. Yes.
Absolutely.
So let's get into this whole communication thing. The importance first, being able to effectively communicate with superiors, colleagues, and staff in the professional world. It is important.
Communication is probably one of the most overlooked, undervalued skill sets when it comes to professionalism, relationships, and ultimately success. How you say things and what you say basically determines how your audience will receive your message. And what is happening now is there are so many different opportunities within the workplace, and you have an abundance of transformation, whether it's through technology, whether it's through products or services. And ultimately, how you get from point A to point B is going to be based on how you communicate, how you bridge gaps between your peers of different backgrounds, of different ages, of different social economic backgrounds.
Yeah.
How you bridge those gaps, how you build those relationships is going to play a critical role in getting, again, from point A to point B. And with all of the different opportunities in the workplace right now, when you think about sexual assault in the workplace, when you think about racial division in society, all of those things impact how we bring ourselves to work. And we have to understand that communication is something that is no longer a soft skill, but a critical skill.
Critical. And it's interesting you talk about bridging a gap, because in this digital age, really people do have to bridge a gap, because you have your baby boomers, Generation X, and millennials, and all these things going on, Facebook, Twitter,
Yes.
you name it. And a lot of people are not as comfortable as others, and depending on what you do for a living, these things are critical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you bring up a great point, because one of the things that I focus on in my coaching is no matter what generation that you associate with, so you have millennials, Generation X, baby boomers, and traditionalists. Each of those generations, especially when you talk about the workplace, have a value that they bring. And it's important that you understand what is the preferred communication for each of those individuals that you work with, so that you can ultimately, again, bridge those gaps and get to the point of success. So for me, I prefer face-to-face. I prefer saying, Andrea, girl, where are you? Let's go shopping. Let's go grab some lunch.
And not the text message.
Right.
That's me. If you text me more than twice, I'm getting ready to pick up the phone, because
Exactly.
it's just not how I roll.
And so that's a prime example of
Yeah.
how I would know that if I really want Andrea Williams to respond to me, I need to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Unless I'm saying on my way or see you soon. So I think it's very important that people understand what is your audience's preferred mechanism for communication to really get what you want.
That's good stuff. So, in your opinion, what role does nonverbal communication play in leading one to success? Because you have people who have all types of different jobs, all types of titles, and sometimes you don't have to say anything. That eye roll, whatever, all those things really play a role, and sometimes you get in your own way because of those nonverbals.
You know, it's interesting. Most of the conflict that we experience, 90% of it is not due to what we said, but how we said it. And how we said it oftentimes relates to our body language,
Right.
our gestures, and our voice. So even though I may say to you, Andrea, help me understand what your issue is. If I say, Andrea, help me understand what your issue is, versus Andrea, help me understand what your issue is.
Right.
It could be conveyed completely different. So to your point, nonverbal is just as important. And one of the other things that I coach people on is your default face. So as I started to evolve into
Not default.
default face, my default face used to be this.
And then you're captured in a picture.
Yes, and I'm wondering, why is no one approaching me? And then one day someone came to me and said, Denise, when you are, focusing, your default face can be rather intimidating. So I am also coaching people on how to be aware of their default face, because we all have beautiful faces, and when we smile, that's an instant facelift, and it also helps people feel more inclined to communicate with you.
Yeah, that is very important.
Yes.
And this is the thing, like I mentioned a little bit ago, you worked in corporate America at Miller Coors, and then apparently you realized you had a strength in being an effective communication coach.
Yes.
So there are people who are watching who maybe going into 2018 say, you know what, I'm tired of going to this 9 to 5. I want to have my own business. I want to do my own thing. I want to be happy.
Yes.
How do you walk away from that paycheck that you know's coming,
right,
and walk out on faith and say, you know what, this is what I want to do?
I think you said it very, very well. That's exactly what I felt. And one of the things that I looked at was versus leaving Miller Coors, which, by the way, was a great employer, is a great place to work. And one of the things I would encourage people to do, if you are working for a company, share your employee what your gifts are. Share with them what you enjoy doing, how you can bring your best and authentic self to work, and really help deliver the results for your employer based on what good looks like for them too. And one of the things that Miller Coors, as well as previous employers, did was support what my desire and passion was by providing me platforms to ultimately position me for success and pursue my passion. Now, going back to what triggered is that sooner or later, there will come a time where you'll wake up in the morning and your gut will just say, because you got to listen to your gut, it's time.
Yeah.
And there will never be the right time based on capital, money. You just really have to listen to your gut. and also build a great network. I could not be more appreciative of the people that have surrounded myself with, including yourself, that have provided me platforms to really promote and market my business. So thank you for that as well.
It is my pleasure. And if you weren't good at what you're doing, you wouldn't be here.
Well, that's
for
all
sure.
I needed. 2018 is going to be amazing. Thank you.
Yes,
I appreciate
that. And the thing is, you know, that's how everybody has to really think in moving forward. And here we've talked about all these things to help people move forward in business and on a professional level. But a lot of the things that you've said dealing with the workplace really trickles back down to your personal life as well, because when you talk about communication, you have people who are married or people who live together, I don't know, siblings, whatever the case may be. There is a way to communicate in your personal relationships as well. And the one thing that I always remind people is, like, whatever you're going through at work, don't take that home with you, because then you create this battleground on both ends, you know?
Exactly, exactly. And to your point, relationships, whether it's professional or personal, require communication. And it also requires, as part of communication, active listening. And one of the things that we have to get better at as society is really understanding there are a lot of things right now that we need to have conversations about. To give you an example really quick, you don't have to have a formal setting such as church or a formal mediator to come in and facilitate conversations. I'm hosting a conversation party at my house this evening with a very few number of my close friends, and we're going to talk about a topic around Black love, Black relationships, the state of Black love. And that's just people coming over and really having an intimate conversation. But there are so many things that we as society just need to start having conversations about versus having the one-way social media updates, and just really get to understand what is the root cause of why we feel the way we feel.
Yeah, and we've had that conversation on this show before, because you have so many issues of segregation in many instances here in the city of Milwaukee. You have the issue of poverty, the haves and the have-nots, and sometimes people are afraid to give their opinions on what they think about one side of town versus another, because they don't want to be judged. But really, that is what's going to bring people together to better understand how you feel, how I feel, and maybe there's something about, you know, somebody's lifestyle you don't even understand, and once they explain it to you, then you're like, oh, you put yourself in someone else's shoes, and really things just become or seem just so much easier.
Right.
You know?
And you know, you have to identify those individuals that can appreciate having a conversation. So if you feel nervous or intimidated that the people in your circle won't listen or won't receive, then you probably need to take a step back and start to identify people who are more open-minded and more susceptible to listening.
There it is. Great way to end this segment. You brought a great energy to the set.
Thank you.
2018 is going to be fabulous for you and everyone who's taken away these tips. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Denise Thomas is the president and CEO of the Effective Communication Coach, LLC. For more information, you can visit realcomcoach.com. And when we return to our Issues Milwaukee, we'll take a look at a very common New Year's resolution. If your goal is to stop smoking in 2018, we'll be joined by representatives from the American Lung Association who will give you information on how to do just that. We'll be right back.